Hey folks, it's Sam, and I'm making this quick video talking about the confidence, success, and impact class that I'm teaching on January 1st, 2022. I'm going to be showing you a few of these final screenshots as I'm getting together the course material. I'm teaching a new streamlined approach that you've not learned before. And it all boils down to showing the planetary forces as forces in many ways of destruction and redemption, and how when we connect that to the dignity of the planet, we can get to this meta level with the planet. And I see this really as the key to elevating and becoming much more successful, confident in all areas, and making more impact. So it'll be a great way to start 2022. Of course, you understand astrology and these sort of cosmic energies. And so what a great way to start. And again, just give me 2 days. Together, we'll install a new level of self-confidence and a new counseling practice, because I'm going to show you how to do readings based on this sort of up-leveling of what's called the meta pyramid. I talked about this on a previous video. This is kind of more specifics about the meta pyramid, and I'm going to go over a couple of these frameworks today real quick. Now, again, if you're seeing this, you probably have time still to register, especially if it's before January 1st, 2022, or whenever. There should be a timer up here, perhaps, but you want to go ahead and register. You do also get a couple great bonus courses and all of that. So I want to just talk about today this concept of the planetary destruction and redemption. So as it says here, planets are the forces of light. As the bringers of light, they destroy and transform the darkness of your ego. Your ego is that aggregate structure of darkness that interferes with the pure light. If the planets have more consciousness, that destruction of the ego through each planet leads to greater awareness. But you want to understand all the planets have this destructive quality. It's just a matter of whether or not, as they're destroying our ignorance through the ego, whether or not they're going to also fortify and build more confidence and more strength with that area of life. So the sun destroys your identity, leading to meta confidence. The moon destroys your emotions, leading to meta feeling. Mars destroys your will, leading to meta strength. Mercury destroys your story, leading to meta intelligence. Jupiter destroys your beliefs, leading to meta purpose. Venus destroys your connections, leading to meta joy. Saturn destroys your peace, leading to meta commitment. Rahu and Ketu destroy your certainty, leading to meta whatever they're influencing in the chart. They're a little different. Now, some of these might really make sense, like, okay, Mars destroys your will, leading to meta strength. Sun destroys your identity. But again, these are very deep concepts. Well, how's the sun destroy your identity? I thought it revealed your identity. Yes, through a quality of destruction. I'm going to talk about this a little more in a second. But here we also have a general understanding of the gunas of the planets. Just their nature tend to do certain things. And I'm going to talk about the gunas also in great detail, more in a few specific ways that you haven't heard before. You may have heard me touch on these things before, but not the way I'm going to talk about them in this class, especially the idea that the tamasic energies are the ones we're supposed to keep to ourselves. The rajasic are the ones we're supposed to share. And the sattvic planets are the ones we're supposed to give away selflessly. This is going to also be very important. These are very important for you to be able to do the things like have new confidence, success, and impact. Whether you know it or not, your capacity to operate, to allow these planets to operate effectively through their guna is paramount to your ability to have confidence, be successful, and make an impact in your life, right? So The Tamasic planets will obstruct. That's their nature, to obstruct through caution and turmoil. They can obstruct your success, your path, through caution and turmoil. And they're supposed to do that. Now, what does that mean? Why do I want obstruction? We're going to talk about it. Why you need obstruction, why you need turmoil. Rajasic planets reach out through language and affection. So again, the caution and turmoil is Saturn and Mars. The Rajasic energies, they reach out through language and affection. That's Mercury and Venus. The Sattvic planets elevate and transcend through vision, Sun, love, Moon, and purpose, Jupiter. So this is their nature. But these energies get confused, and each one of these planets, again, like Jupiter, is going to destroy your beliefs, leading to meta purpose, but he destroys your beliefs through Sattva. The planets still have their nature. Again, you have to reframe the idea of destruction. Destruction, bad. Destruction, bad. It's not bad. Everything you've ever created followed some kind of destruction. But is it intelligent destruction? When something is destroyed, does it lead you to something higher or something more difficult? And this is where we're going to get more nuanced. Again, these are still a couple layers. These are just the kind of structure of the layers. That thing I just said was the first part. This is the first part, is like, what are the planets? What is the destruction? And where would it lead? Okay, now we need to get more granular. Dignity, manifestation, and evolution. So the consciousness of the planet is mostly shown in their dignities. The results that manifest are mostly shown in the yogas they form, these two things. There's an upward spiral of consciousness and manifestation that occurs through the dignities. Now we'll start at the bottom. The debilitated, great enemy, and enemy dignities have problems understanding the nature of the planet as a karaka and manifesting what it rules as a lord and a karaka. This is just based on the dignity of whatever the planet is. Now, again, that's more of a tamasic, dark energy. And those planets that are in those darker dignities, they're just stuck, which is the negative quality of tamasic, trying to manifest what they're indicating. So let's say it's Venus, for example. It's going to stay stuck even trying to manifest good connections. Or let's say it's the Sun. It's going to be stuck just trying to stay on purpose with your vision. It's going to have a hard time even manifesting it and what it rules as a house ruler. So when these darker dignities are there, they're stuck just trying to make that thing happen, just trying to produce it. Okay? When they're in the neutral, the friend, and the great friend dignities, which are this average level, then there will be an off and on. Then they will off and on manifest the nature of the planet as a karaka and a lord, but struggle with the personal desires and attachments that arise. So when they're in those average dignities, they're not really low, they're not really high, then there will be an off and on quality to what gets manifested. Again, they're not just stuck trying to manifest it, where they have a hard time even producing, let's say, a relationship or a job or whatever it might be. They can produce it, but there's an off and on quality to it. It's like sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. They might get it, but they might not like it. They might be confused about how to keep it. So they're not really stuck trying to manifest it. They can, let's use a relationship, for example. They get a relationship, but then it's not a very good one, or they're not happy with it, or they're always back and forth. The agreements they make don't feel good half the time. They're fighting, then it stops. Then they try it again, and that stops. This is very typical. This is the typical kind of back and forth. And again, most of the time, most of the planets are either in one of these lower dignities, where we're either having a hell of a time even manifesting the thing, or we manifest it, but it's this off and on kind of thing. And again, we can see this astrologically. Maybe we're in a period where it's good now. Now I'm in a dasha cycle where other things support it, but then the subdasha, the next subdasha makes it hard. So you have the Mahadasha planet and the subdasha planet, and one says it's good, one says it's not. So it's this problem. Or maybe it's in a time when the dasha is saying that I can manifest it, but then a transit comes and knocks it off. And it's back and forth, right? It's not a consistent thing. This is the way most of the energy is. Most planets are either neutral friend, great friend, debilitated great enemy, or enemy. That's what most of them are, these two. But then we get the planet that's exalted or in its own sign. This is related to the highest consciousness. Again, the Rajasic energies are the neutral friend and great friend. And these are, this is the Rajasic quality. And this is where we're just very emotional about the thing and trying to keep it. So it's not just stuck trying to manifest it. We can manifest it sometime, but we're very emotional about it. And we're always putting a lot of energy in trying to keep it, pouring all of our energy into that thing, trying to not have it slip back into the tamasic, and trying to push it up toward the sattvic, trying to elevate it more toward something that would be like the exalted and own sign. So those planets that are there have no trouble understanding the thing and manifesting the nature of the planet as a karaka and a lord, but will continually seek to up-level the consciousness of that thing beyond form. So the exalted planet will disrupt and at times obliterate the form. So the exalted planet is the one that's kind of outside. Again, we can understand that thing and we can even manifest it, but we're trying to take it beyond just this world and the things that we produce in this world when it's at that highest dignity. And so the exalted will tend, as a way of transforming it beyond this world, will tend to maybe destroy the whole thing. It depends, but planets are exalted in places that are not necessarily congruent or conjunct with the houses that they're ruling. So when they're exalted, particularly Venus, Jupiter, those two, but even Mars, Mars is exalted in Saturn's sign. So it's also a sort of a destructive planet. So again, the exalted placements, as they're trying to up-level beyond just the relationship or the courage or whatever, they can tend to destroy things that they're ruling in the world. The planet that's in its own sign also disrupts, but it will be more stable per the yogas, etc., because it's in its own sign. So it's still at a very high dignity. It's still what's called awake. By the way, these are what are called the Jagrat Avashtas. This is called a Jagrat Avashta. This is called a Swapna or sleepy, and this is called a Sushupti. So we're going to talk about those. But the real difference between the exalted and its own sign is they're both what's called awake, which means they're awake to what they're doing. So they understand, okay, this is what I'm doing. And as we're awake to something, we see it and we can manifest it, we can do it, but now the worldly part of it isn't as satisfying. And we're trying to make it transcendent. So these are the things that we might, wind up being a great teacher to others about. Someone with that, let's say they have an exalted Mars or Mars in its own sign, as an example. They wind up being a teacher of like Mars things because they see that very clearly, right? But there's a difference between the exalted, which is not in its own sign, and the planet that's in its own sign in how they transform. So I've always said this for years, but now I'm going to really drill into it, that the planet that's in its own sign still brings the awareness and the consciousness of the exalted planet, but it's much more stable because it's like in its own house. So think of it this way. Let's say that you own two houses, which most planets own two signs, two properties. And you are living in one of those properties. Well, this is your property. You're living there. So you're in control of it and the other planets, let's say, that are there. Exalted would be something that's even more, that's even higher. Like, let's say you're a king or you're royalty, or you go somewhere and you don't even have to do anything. Everything is taken care of for you, right? It's even kind of the next level up from owning a property and having to maintain it or whatever, where you're in control of it. that's going to give you more control over your life and your domain because you're there. Let's say you're not there. Let's say you're somewhere else that's even more elevated, right? Where someone or something is taking care of you or something. It's more of a wild card. So we're going to drill down into these things as well, this difference between these dignities, how they refer to these gunas. And again, as you can see here with this exalted and own sign, this is sattvic, and it's trying to shed the karma in this lifetime as we up level beyond just form. And again, this is part of that meta pyramid structure, and it leads to our cosmic nature. You see, it goes to this very, very granular, like the head of a pin, and then you start with that head of a pin spiritually, and then you start to spiral upward toward your cosmic nature. So again, you can see this evolution through the gunas of the awareness of the planets. Those that are in a darkened dignity have this tamasic nature that's just trying to manifest things, and we can get stuck in that area. The planets that are difficult, this is why we can keep repeating the same problems, because we're trying to just make that thing happen. We're trying to just make that area of life come alive to us, because we're here to try to make it happen. Like, again, let's use the Venus as an example. Again, if don't feel bad if you have debilitated Venus, because many charts this works out. This is just a parameter, right? Because you also have the 7th house ruler, you have things that affect it, but many times that's just going to it's going to create a pain where it's hard to even feel good about manifesting that thing. Even just manifesting it is difficult. And so the karma can get stuck just in trying to manifest, right? Once it goes up to, let's say, the next level, then you can manifest it, but it's back and forth, and you're very emotionally attached to the thing you're manifesting, right? Very emotionally attached to it. This is the nature of that rajasic and that neutral friend and great friend dignity. Oh, I have the relationship and it's good, but I'm so attached to it. I'm very emotional about it, and I'm trying to keep it, as it says here, emotional, trying to keep it, right? It says tamas is stuck trying to manifest. Rajasic is emotional and trying to keep it. And sattvic in this highest level is now we understand it and we can manifest it. Now we're trying to shed it and say, okay, I get it. I get what this thing is. I understand what the relationships are, okay, and they require all this work and they require all this attachment to keep this thing going. Okay, I get it, but there's something beyond. Again, like you've heard me discuss, like exalted Venus, where it's happiness for no reason. Okay, I'm happy if you do this, but then I got to do that, and it takes all this work. This is more the rajasic level. The sattvic is beyond that to this state. Again, now you can see how this would work a little bit better. Destroys your connections, leading to meta joy. Jupiter destroys your beliefs, leading to meta purpose. Right? So you can see how and why this sort of comes into it now at that point. So this is a kind of matrix into which we're going to evaluate planets. By the way, I haven't even talked about signs, and I didn't break all this down because you see it in general, but the real juice is in hearing these explanations and hearing exactly how this comes out. And you'll hear all the planets described through these different levels. And again, it's very powerful to hear. By the way, it's not just me. It's also going to be with my co-teacher, Elise de Villiers, who has, gone through these things herself in her life and really, manifested a lot of things and with her excellent career, her very high impact career, not to mention, transitioning from that into making an impact like in this way, as an astrologer and as an astrology teacher. So again, there'll be a lot of firsthand accounts of these things. Those of you who have come to these weekend courses know it's not just me, it's also the dialogue that I have with the co-teachers, my friends, and students and teachers as well. So it's a very enjoyable way for you to learn in these, seeing these powerful conversations. And so I really hope to have you here, and go ahead and register if it's still open. And I think you're going to get a lot out of hearing me explain these very powerful structures. And again, one of the big things that'll also happen is it will install a new level of self-confidence in you and a new counseling practice. Those of you who are doing readings, so many of my students, either they've graduated or they've been taking these courses for years. I'm going to show you how to take these concepts and do readings. Right? Because once we unpack all of these things specifically, you're going to understand really how the gunas work with the plants, the gunas of the plants. Again, I just glossed over about 5 or 6 hours worth of teaching in this quick video. I just showed you like the outline of what I'm going to be explaining for 4, 5, 6 hours in great depth. These are very deep concepts, and I'm going to be explaining them in ways that I haven't before. And so that you can really understand and know how to explain these things to people, because this is the thing that really makes all of your teaching meaningful. You could sit there and, sometimes I call it watch the Sam show. Okay, Sam's going to say stuff and I'll listen, and it's so entertaining and fun. But that's great. But I also am doing this because I want people to use it. You could take what you learn in this class, this, I don't know, $47 you spend, and do 10, 15 readings, or as many as you want. You're going to learn something that you can use for the rest of your life to help people. On some level, I mean, I don't play this part of it up, but some of this is like invaluable. I have people who take some of these courses that I do, and they start doing readings with this. And, I have a couple people that have, for example, they started doing the Nakshatra Heroes Journey readings. Some of them started doing readings on harmonic charts. I did a class on how to do readings on harmonic charts. And this is it's up to you if you want to pursue it. But again, I'm also even teaching that. A new level of confidence to take this stuff that you learn and do something with it. So that part of it is up to you, but you should understand the value in this, especially if you want to actually do astrology and really help people. These are some really powerful stuff where you can where the teachings are really streamlined. Even as it says here in this screenshot, it says, I will be teaching a methodology I've not taught before, a powerful streamlining. And again, if you can't make it in real time, as always, you'll get the recordings. But this is a real great opportunity to start the year right, really doubling and tripling down on these universal principles that every chart is based on. The real juice and wisdom in every chart comes down to these things. And they're not simple. They're not easy. It's not simple, easy. But, I'm going to explain the dignity calculations. I'm going to explain how it's arrived at and all this stuff too. So again, this is very important stuff. Also going to talk about yogas and these other structures that allow us to make good predictions and understand when things happen. So go ahead and avail yourself of this. I think you'll